The moment didn't feel real at first. Hope Logan stood in the design office, fingers still brushing over sketches that were supposed to be her next big launch, when everything shifted. There was no build-up, no warning, just Steffi walking in with that unmistakable edge in her voice, the kind that always meant trouble was coming. And then it landed. Hope for the future on hold. Again, for a second, Hope didn't even react. It was like her mind refused to process it. The collection was finished. Every piece signed off. Every detail approved. She had done everything right this time. Followed the rules, played along, trusted the process. So, how did she end up right back here? Her jaw tightened, but she kept her tone steady. Calm. Controlled. She asked why, even though part of her already knew the answer wouldn't make sense. Steffi didn't hesitate. The company needed to shift focus. Couture was a priority. Timing wasn't right. It wasn't personal. Not personal. That phrase just hung there, heavy and hollow, because everything about this felt personal. Hope's eyes flickered for just a second, and that was enough to show the crack forming beneath the surface. She didn't raise her voice, didn't argue the way she could have, but the disappointment? That was impossible to hide. She had stayed through worse than this, through working side by side with Thomas, after everything that happened between them, through compromises that chipped away at her vision piece by piece, through decisions that made her question whether she even belonged at Forrester anymore. And now this? Another delay, another setback, another reminder that no matter how hard she worked, her line could be pushed aside at any moment. She exhaled slowly, trying to keep her emotions in check. But inside, something was shifting. Something that wasn't going to settle this time. Before she could even gather her thoughts, the door opened again. Zende. He walked in mid-conversation, catching the tension instantly. The room felt off, too quiet, too stiff. His eyes moved from Hope to Steffi, and it didn't take long for him to realize something had gone wrong. "What's going on?" he asked, already bracing himself. Hope hesitated for a fraction of a second before answering. Maybe she didn't want to say it out loud. Maybe she knew that once she did, it would become real in a way she couldn't ignore. They're putting the line on hold. Zende blinked. Once. Twice. Then he let out a short, disbelieving breath. "You're kidding!" He looked at Steffi, waiting for some kind of clarification, some explanation that would make it make sense. But there wasn't one. Not really. The decision had already been made. And just like Hope, Zende felt a hit deeper than it should have. Because this wasn't just a project. It was his too. He had poured himself into those designs. Late nights, endless revisions, pushing creativity to its limits. For what? To have it shelved without a second thought? His frustration showed more openly than Hope's. He didn't try to hide it. Couldn't. "This isn't right," he said, his voice sharper now. Steffi stood her ground, unwavering. The company had priorities. This wasn't up for debate. And just like that, the conversation was over. But the tension? That stayed. Hope didn't say much after that. She couldn't. Not without letting everything spill out in a way she wasn't ready for. So she did the only thing she could. She walked away. Later that evening, the atmosphere couldn't have been more different. The Spencer mansion was warm, inviting, almost too calm compared to the storm brewing in Hope's mind. Dinner was set, conversations flowing, but there was an undercurrent building, one that hadn't surfaced yet. Katie talked about the fashion show, about the success, about the attention it brought. There was pride in her voice, but also something else, uncertainty, because success was great. But what came next? That question lingered longer than she expected. Hope listened quietly, her thoughts racing in a completely different direction. Liam noticed. He always did. There was a moment, a brief exchange of glances between them, that said more than words ever could. Something wasn't right, and he knew it. When the conversation circled back to the future, to what Katie planned to do next, something clicked for Hope. Not all at once, but enough, because while Katie was searching for her next step, Hope was stuck waiting for permission to take hers. The realization hit harder than she expected. Why was she still waiting? Why was she putting her future in someone else's hands, knowing how easily it could be taken away? Her chest tightened slightly, the weight of it all settling in. Across the table, Liam leaned back, watching her carefully. He didn't push, didn't interrupt, but he saw it, that shift, and when he finally spoke, his voice was calm but intentional. Maybe it's time to think about something different. Hope looked at him, her expression guarded but curious. Different how? He didn't rush his answer. You've done everything they asked of you, and it still keeps happening. At some point, you have to ask yourself if it's worth it. The words hit close, too close, because she had been asking herself that exact question. She just hadn't said it out loud yet. Katie glanced between them, sensing the direction this was heading, and suddenly, the idea didn't feel so impossible anymore. What if there was another option? A place where her work wouldn't be constantly sidelined, where her vision could actually move forward instead of being paused over and over again. A place where she had control. Hope's fingers tightened slightly around her glass as the thought settled in. Forrester Creations had been her home for so long, but lately, it didn't feel like it. Not really. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop fighting for a space in a place that kept pushing her out. The idea of leaving wasn't easy. It came with risks, questions, consequences she couldn't fully predict. But staying, that was starting to feel even harder. And then there was Zende. She couldn't ignore that part. He had been right there with her through all of this, supporting the line, believing in it, investing his time and talent into something that clearly wasn't being valued the way it should be. Would she really walk away without him? The answer came faster than she expected. No, if she left, she wouldn't leave alone, because Zende deserved better too. And if there was a chance to build something new, something real, she knew exactly who she wanted by her side. Across the city, things were moving in a completely different direction. At Forrester, the focus had already shifted. Plans were being made, strategies forming, the future of couture taking center stage. And maybe that was exactly what Steffi wanted all along. If Hope chose to walk away, would she really try to stop her? Or would she just stand back and let it happen? That question lingered quietly, unanswered, because sometimes the biggest moves aren't the ones you fight against, they're the ones you allow. Back at the mansion, the conversation had softened, but the impact hadn't faded. Hope sat there, quieter now but clearer. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't just reacting. She was thinking ahead, and that changed everything. Because once that door opens, once you start imagining a different path, it's almost impossible to close it again. And if Hope Logan decides to walk away from Forrester Creations, she won't be looking back. She'll be building something new, something bigger, something that no one can put on hold. And when that happens, everything changes.